And we're working. How we doing? It's your boy Eric coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real, raw, rugged, and like the Breakfast Club say, we got a special guest in the building. But I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Who do we have?
You're chatting with Napalm from Hiatus Kaiyote, live somewhere in Harlem in a park.
Hey, so how are you doing today?
I'm good. I've been chilling, had some really good Mexican food.
It's crazy in the park because I had a couple nature questions for you. But yeah, before we even get into that, I just gotta tell you how I got into you. My friend, he sent me. He was like, "You gotta listen to this album, Choose Your Weapon." I'm like, "Cool." So I listened to it. I'm like, "Wow, this girl can sing really good." So I'm like, let me look at like one of their videos, see what they're all about. So I'm going in expecting like some like black chick singing, and then I see it's not a black chick, and I'm like, what? And then I look, you're from Australia, and I'm like, what? And it was just so like crazy to me. So I had to ask you, do you get mistaken when somebody hears you like, is this a black girl? Like, oh, they see it, they're like, whoa. Like, I feel like that's like a common thing with you, Yukimi from like Little Dragon, because you guys have like so much soul in your voice when you sing.
Right. I mean, I think for the most part, people assume I'm in a punk band or something when I tell them that I'm a musician. Um, it's happened before, but it's not like you know,
Like
I don't know.
like a
It's
regular
not like
thing. Yeah.
like super regular. What the fuck are you talking into? I thought it was like you were drinking like a soda, but it's like
Dude, this is definitely some
what?
like. Okay, now we're back. Sorry, we had a little mic problems. She was just roasting my microphone right here. What were you saying?
I'm not roasting. I'm just saying it looks like a Death Star
It's
soda.
I don't know. I definitely got this from like Best Buy for like $50. So hey, it worked. I ain't gonna say nothing bad about Blue Snowball. If Blue Snowball want to give me some money, hey, we here. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
But
I'm
nah,
just telling you because I thought it was like a fucking soda. I'm like, look at you, just like sipping away on your shit, but it's
no,
like
definitely
super
not.
empty microphone.
Yeah, definitely not sipping mid interview.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, just going back to I guess the Australian scene, like I say, you the singer Yukimi from Little Dragon, you guys have so much like soul in your voice, and I was curious if it was like more people in Australia that had just like I guess like soulful singers like that us Americans are probably not aware about.
Yeah. I mean, of course. I think it's one of my favorite singers from Australia is a woman called Nairi,
Okay.
spelled Ngaire. I think maybe minus one of the I's. And she's her heritage is from Papua New Guinea, but she was like raised in Sydney, Australia, and I think she's a really underrated artist. Like her voice is fucking amazing, and yeah, I mean, like music is pretty. The soul is universal, and I think people who have lived through some shit tend to be able to sing with a depth, that
Mm-hmm.
that has some power behind it. So
Fact.
yeah, I don't. I think that's like kind of a global thing.
And I guess before we even keep going, I'll be remiss because I realize like in videos or interviews when I see pictures of you, you're very stylish, and I see you got the red earrings matching the red collar right there. So I just want to ask like if you want to detail with people what you have on right now because you looking real stylish right now.
A detail. Well, there's this bad boy
Okay.
that I picked up.
What does that say?
It says Cosmos, but it's with a Greek Z.
Okay, so you got the brass knuckles right there.
Right.
What about the earrings?
Um,
Or okay, yeah, just talk. We'll talk about what you got on.
this is a pin that my girl Renine gave me. She's Parisian, but originally from Iraq.
Okay.
And this is an Arabic N, but originally it's like a political statement where like um I mean, she gave it to me because my name is Nay, and it's like it's an M. But
Okay.
um, there was like a lot of Iraqis that were Arabic communities that were Christian were being murdered, and so like there was a movement where people used to wear this pin in solidarity. And this is how she had it. Her mother gave it to her, and she gave it to me. on my birthday.
Mm.
So we got that in the mix. What else? Earrings are like a combination of like different treasures that I pick up.
Okay.
This is a wolf tooth my little brother gave me. Yeah.
It's fire today.
I got like hella zips. My shit.
Oh, are you a big fan of the zippers on the pants thing?
It just pretends it's
So it's nothing. It's nothing in it for real.
It says there's no kinky shit. My kicks are like my friend Liaolu. He's from Nigeria, and he recently did the video for I Ain't Sorry, for Beyonce's I Ain't Sorry, and he did all the like Yoruba face paint on the dances in that video, and he's killing it at the moment.
Okay.
And I was chilling with him in New York with another musician, Sheon Kuti. It's like Fela Kuti's son. And for those who don't know, Fela Kuti's like a Afrobeat icon. So we were just hanging out, and he stole my shoes and painted them.
Wow. So I was gonna bring this up later in the interview, but you talking about it right now. You're just like, I was reading up on you. You're just very cultured. Like, you know about like a lot of cultures. You know about like a lot of just like other things. And I don't know. It's just interesting hearing you talk about, you know, like the little pen you had, and talk about like the African tribes and all this stuff. And that just made me curious. What made you so attracted to cultures?
I mean, I think I'm naturally just a curious human being. You know, like you can like lock yourself away, or you know, be involved in the world. And I don't think it's necessarily something that I intentionally seek out, you know, but I think I naturally am drawn to things that are, you know, that are eclectic, or you know, powerful, and it is attracted to me, and I am attracted to it. And like, I'm just really fortunate that I get exposed to a lot of different awesome shit. And I think it's important to, as a human being, just be aware of, you know, just different like styles of life and different people. And like, you know, as a musician, I'm really blessed to travel a lot, and it kind of makes you think outside of, you know, what you might be exposed to just geographically where you live. But I mean, like, my parents died when I was young, and I raised myself, you know. I was independent from 14, so I've always moved around, you know, and I find comfort in relating to my environment, and that is now global. So, you know, so I get to meet some interesting individuals, and you know, they school me up on their culture and where they're from. And I think it's important to be aware instead of like ignorant and isolated.
And just to kind of go back to what you said about losing your parents, I was sorry to hear that, because I read up on your mom having cancer, and I could feel that, because when my mom was pregnant with me, she had cancer too. But yeah, so I can understand when people talk about that, because that's pretty crazy stuff. And I read that you talking about what comforts you now is globally, but back then you weren't traveling, so you said what comforts you were animals, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I just want to know
to
about
this
that.
day.
Yeah, I just want to know more about that. Like, why animals?
I don't know. I just think, you know, like, so I grew up in the city in Melbourne, which is like metropolitan city. I lived in like high-rise commission flats, which is kind of like, your equivalent here would be like projects, but it's like government-funded housing and shit.
Okay.
So like inner city, and then, you know, so like the only nature I was really exposed to was like fucking possums and, you know, city animals. But when my mother died, I moved to the country, and I live with a woman that hand reared a dingo, which is like, it's kind of like an Australian version of like a coyote or a wolf or something. It's like our equivalent. Um, and grieving the loss of my mother, I had this like, I mean, tame but essentially wild animal with me all the time, and it just like, and after living with this woman, I moved in with a girlfriend from school. So this is the thing, I just kind of like adopt families, like I've always been like that. And I moved in with a friend from school, and her family were wildlife carers, and they looked after like baby wombats and joeys, baby kangaroos. We had wedge-tailed eagles. And so, when you're grieving, there's something really profoundly healing about nurturing something else. And and again, it wasn't necessarily something I seeked out. I just kind of found myself in these situations, and now it defines who I am. Like if I didn't experience that loss and this like massive move, I wouldn't have that connection.
Yeah.
And it's been monumental in my life, and something that I carry with me now.
So
Wherever I go.
yeah, so me, like I never grew up around animals, but you know how people say humans give off like energies, like legit, like they could like affect the mood in the room, like if you come like with a bad energy. So
Right,
I would,
like empathy and shit.
yeah, stuff like that. So I was thinking, since you have a kind of background in animals almost, when you're around animals, do you feel that they give off energies as humans do?
Yeah, for sure. I think probably stronger because they're more. There's no like. I don't really feel like animals have a sense of ego.
Mm.
It's like they because so many animals are still in a like survival instinct mode, that it's a survival instinct to be aware of your surroundings. And I think animals are very heightened in emotionally, from my experience, and yeah, I think they're definitely naturally empathic, maybe more so than humans, or maybe not more so, but like they don't have their other bullshit, like cognitive shit getting in the way, like it's direct. And it's really beautiful. Like I've been really blessed to like I've sung to hawks like in the desert, or like I had this one experience the day before my 21st birthday where like I was on a goanna nest, which is like, it's like bigger than an iguana, kind of like it's like a mini dinosaur essentially. And I was sitting on its nest, and I didn't realize, and it came out from underneath the nest, and like it can be really vicious, like they can be really aggressive. And I was just like singing to it, because I think singing is a way, without sounding like a crazy esoteric person, I think essentially you're directing your emotional intention, and I know that shit because I perform to like rooms full of people, and you can literally like you can change the way people are feeling emotionally by directing it. And so through learning this, like I've sung to animals and just like felt their intention change, and like I was singing to this like giant monitor lizard that could have just attacked me, like, and instead like we just kind of like, it was like a mutual respect, and it was a way for me to let it know that I wasn't there to
Harm it or anything.
Exactly.
Hey, I need to hang around you more, because every time I'm around animals, they're like attacking me, like cats, like running up on me, like powering at me and stuff. So I don't know. I guess
But like, are you afraid of them though? Because this is the thing. Like,
I definitely don't like animals like that. So that's probably why I feel.
there you go.
They might
Like,
feel my energy. That's what it might be.
like imagine someone comes up to you and they're like, you can kind of tell that they're not really fucking with you.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be all like, hey, let's like hang out and have a magical time. You know what I mean? Like, and I learned that because like my auntie, she has horses, and I remember when I was younger, like learning how to ride horses. And the first time I got up there, I was like fucking shitting myself because it's like, you know, I've never been exposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're anxious and you're stressed, like they're so empathic that they become anxious and stressed, you know, and then it's just kind of escalates. But if you're calm, then they have no reason to freak out, you know.
Okay.
So like I like maybe just try like getting outside of yourself and just being like, just like chill out and try and like share that with them, you know. People are exactly the same, you know what I mean? Like how many, like you were saying before, like you're in a fucking elevator and someone's just like had a fight with their girlfriend or whatever and they're like feeling some type of way. Like we can feel that shit.
Yes, a fact.
You know?
Yeah.
And so like it's the same with animals, you know, and like more often than not, you know, like for example with this giant goanna, my first reaction was like, holy fuck, this thing could like you know, like my first response was fear, you know. I'm not gonna lie. But I like, you know, I thought about like this experience like with my auntie and horses and like my experience with humans and shit, you know, and it's just like, okay, like I just need to calm the fuck down, and if I calm the fuck down, then it's not gonna feel like I'm a threat, you know, because like we're just chilling, you know. And it's like, it sounds like some crazy new age bullshit, but it's a fucking science as well, you know, like.
So I would assume that since your love for animals, you're vegan or you're not vegan?
No, I'm not vegan, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I think this is the thing is like, I feel like there's this like life and death exchange. You know what I mean? Like if this is coming from someone from Australia where like shit is wild. Like if you're, you know, like we have like 8 of the most venomous snakes and shit. We have like cassowaries, which are like giant emu dinosaurs that can like gut you, and like dinosaurs, I mean like fucking crocodiles and shit, you know. And for me, like I think there is beauty in the hunt and like the exchange of like of energy, and it depends on whether like you're coming from a place of like respect or, you know, like I'm not a vegan, but like I think there's a lot of like fucked up elements to the meat industry, you know what I mean? Like, and but at the same time, like, you know, like I was in South Africa one time and this mama made me like a stew out of ostrich, you know, and and like so much of traveling and like community is sharing food. And so for me it's kind of like I wouldn't want to be like, oh no, I'm gonna like refuse the thing that you fucking prepared and offered and giving to me and welcoming me into your family essentially because of like my dietary shit, you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, it's like I'm not as like purist extremist with it, you know. I think there's beauty in all elements of life. It comes down to your intention and awareness and respect, you know.
You know, it's crazy what I'm realizing about this. We haven't even touched music yet, and like everything. No. Everything you're saying is like really like interesting, and I'm thinking like you should probably think about like starting like a podcast or like starting like something like that. Like you ever thought about that?
Not really. I'm not too like tech savvy. I mean, I thought your microphone was a soda, just to push it in perspective. Like, I mean,
I mean,
Yeah,
you might enlighten people. You might enlighten people because you're enlightening me with stuff. Like I'm never thinking about like having the same energy with the animal to make him feel comfortable. Like you're just saying, like and talking about cultures and stuff. I feel like people listen to you, and that'll even gravitate them to listen to your music more because it's like she's so enlightening. I wonder what she's saying in her music. So just something to think about. I think that'd be good for you.
All right. Well, if I do, I'll have you to thank for that.
Hey,
So
you got to,
we'll
you
see.
got to, you got to. But
Maybe I'll have you as like a guest on my shit.
oh yeah, I got to. If not, I'm boycotting. I'm telling everybody not to listen if I'm not a guest. I'm telling everybody not to listen.
She ripped off my idea.
Yeah, basically. That's definitely what I'm doing. But
Get the same mic and be like,
like, what are you drinking out of soda? But nah, when you was younger, what were you listening to when you was growing up? Like music wise.
It depends. Like my mother was an artist and a choreographer, and I mean, like for the most part, like Stevie Wonder and Al Green and Aretha Franklin, just because she loved like old soul. But she was also a contemporary dancer, so she'd bring home like lots of different shit. Like a lot of Northwest African music, specifically from Mali. Mali, like anything from the Sahara is like my favorite shit to listen to because it's like, and in my opinion, I feel like a lot of blues originated there. Like if you listen to like artists like Ali Fakature or like Tanarwin, like the guitar elements in the Sahara Desert are like super raw and super bluesy and like pentatonic. Like that was my favorite stuff growing up. But she also like it was more influenced by the styles of dance that she was learning. Like when she first got sick, she was in hospital for like a year, and then she came out of hospital and kind of had this new leaf on life and started learning flamenco. And so she'd bring home like flamenco records and shit. And this was like,
what exactly is flamenco?
What exactly is flamenco? It's like it's music from Spain.
Okay.
That is like it's like nomadic, like a lot of nomadic musicians. There's a really amazing filmmaker called Tony Gatliff.
Okay.
And he has a film called Lacho Drum. But basically all of his films are fucking amazing, and he captures different gypsy communities around the world, like, and their styles of music. And if you want to be exposed to flamenco, he's a really great place to start.
Okay. What's his name again?
Yeah. Tony Gatliff. Gatlif.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, naturally, like, from a young age, the music I was exposed to wasn't necessarily in, like, a standard westernized, like, music structure, like, as far as, like, time signatures and scales and harmony and shit. So, like, I don't have any classical training as a musician, but just because of the vast variety of music that I was exposed to from a young age, when it came to creating, I naturally wrote in a way that wasn't, just your run-of-the-mill kind of verse, chorus, verse, like 4/4 thing, because that's just not how I knew music to be. Like a lot of like West African music is in 6/8, which is like a time signature that essentially it has like a cyclical kind of component to it, and you can have like polyrhythms within that, which is like two different rhythms that if you isolate them, they sound like completely separate, but then somehow they work together. And the reason why I particularly adore like a lot of 6/8 music is because there's less landmarks, it's not like start finish. It's like it has this continuous like component to it, and it's more like intellectual and melodic for the most part,
Okay.
which I find, yeah, it's my shit. Like anything that I think is that is soulful and interesting
You
and
gravitate to.
intelligent. Yeah.
And I guess to fast forward a little bit more and kind of to, I guess it's going to go right back to the culture point, but Choose Your Weapon, my favorite song probably by you guys, Hiatus Kaiyote, has to be Borderline by Adams. Like, I feel like that
Oh
song,
yeah.
man, when you can't, as soon as you came in with the ooh, 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 I was like, oh, it's going to be crazy. I already knew it was going to be crazy. So I'm listening to that song and I always thought it was like crazy, but now recently, trying to do a little study for this interview because I'm trying to be a top-notch journalist out here. You know what I'm saying? I found out. I found out what inspired this song was I think you said a friend. He had let me see if I can remember. Native American, Filipino, and
Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican
Yeah.
background.
Look at you.
Hey, I'm out here in real life, man. But you said that
Real
you
lifer.
you said you was looking at his face and his face turned into a bear or something like that, right? I need an explanation of what that meant exactly.
um, it's kind of hard to explain. You know, like he was like, he said to me, he's like, I can see your animal totems, and I was like, yeah, yeah, listen, you know, like listen to you, you know, like this is the thing is like I have a very like strong sense of spirituality, but I'm also really cynical
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like for the most part there's a lot of fluff, you know, or there's a lot of like people that abuse real magic and like kind of like sell off some bullshit, you know, and so I'm always a little bit like cautious of that, I guess. Not to say that he's not somebody who was like, you know, off with the fairies, but I was
Yeah.
like, okay, what do you really mean by that? And you know, and coming from somebody who's like has a really strong affinity with animals and is raised animal, like I hand reared a crow. You know, like this was my first tattoo ever, and it was a scratch from this crow I hand reared. And the fact that he's like, I can see that shit in you. He's like, I can see your animal, like, I can see the animals in you, and he was like, look at my face really closely. He's like, what do you see? And it was really bizarre. It was kind of like not like physically turning into a bear, but I could just like visualize his face as one, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like it just kind of became really apparent to me. And it was pretty full on, you know, like I was completely sober, but I felt like I was in some kind of like hallucinogens or some shit. And yeah, and so just like, you know, borderline with my Adams is that celebration of like what is beyond the way we perceive our realities, you know, and like um, it's kind of like the referencing like the theory of relativity or like the concept that, you know, like if you observe molecules,
Mm-hmm.
they act differently depending on whether you're observing them or not, you know, and just like how the power in your reality and how you choose to perceive the world around you is there's something really powerful in that, you know, and like blurring those lines and the celebration of that. And yeah. And the crazy thing is like he's a musician as well, and his artist name is Nako, Nahko Bear, and like as in like his whole fucking like personal awareness is associated with the animal that is a bear, and I didn't fucking know that. And he was just like, you know, when I said to him, I was like, your face, you know, you just turned into a bear. He's like, yeah, you know. And it was kind of like some weird confirmation, you know, like
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes there's just some crazy shit like that, like, you know, like about a month ago I was chilling eating a mango, and a very dear friend of mine, like right at that moment, texted me the word mango, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Because he was in another state too, and I was just like, I'm like, are you at my house right now? He's like, no, but he's like, I can just taste mango and it made me think of you. And I was like, that's fucked because I'm eating a mango right now, and it's like, like how do you explain this stuff? And it could just be like, random coincidence and all this shit. And like, I think it's a combination.
I'm
But
gonna tell you why.
sometimes,
No, my fault. Keep going.
sometimes I just think there's like weird magical shit that happens, and if you're like open and aware of it, then you attract it more and
Yeah.
you understand it more.
Now, I was just gonna say specifically with that song, I was gonna tell you why it's not a coincidence because one of probably the most magical, mythical people liked that song, and it was Prince. And I feel like that guy, like, if he says that's a good song, then it's objectively speaking has to be a good song. So when you heard him say that, like, was that crazy to you? Was that shocking to you? Or you like how'd you feel when you heard that? Or how did that even happen? First of all.
Well, I mean, like, I knew he was a fan of our shit because he like tweeted our Nakamura video and like invited us to play Paisley Park a couple of times, and I knew we were on his radar. But it wasn't until after he died that a lover of his, she's like, I want to like sit down and have coffee with you because it's something I feel like you should, like when I was seeing him, we listened to your record and we talked about it, and and he really like resonated and adored Borderline with My Atoms, and I just want you to know that. And the crazy thing is like this is like maybe the song that I'm most proud of writing. Like it just like it's kind of like my mini opus or something. And so, for them, like like a lot of people are on our shit now, but like for the most part, it's like like, oh yeah, I like that "Love You" Nakamura song. And so like the fact that the song he fucked with the most is the thing I'm most proud of, and that I really feel like I put my soul into. And like out of everything, this is the one that he resonated with, kind of just made me feel like he really understood who I am musically, and that's like, yeah, it's incredible. I mean, yeah, it just, and also like I remember when we first released the record, like we were getting all these reviews, and for the most part I don't really like read my reviews and shit because it's just like everyone's got an opinion, and as long as I just like know, as long as like I'm my harshest critic, so like as long as I'm like, I won't release shit unless I feel like it's the best offering that I can achieve, at least at this point in time.
So is there, I don't mean to cut you off, I just quickly want to ask, is there any like music critic that you actually like rely on, or is there really none you like when you release something, like, oh, I want to know what they got to say about it, or you don't have anybody in mind like that?
I mean, my friends and my family.
Those are your music critics. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there was one review that was kind of like a track by track breakdown, and when they got to Borderline, they were like, this is more of a filler. Like everything else on the record is super like banging, and like, but this one, is, maybe they put too much on the record because there's a lot of songs, and like this one's kind of like a filler. And for me, I was so heartbroken. So I was like, man, this is like the one. This is the one that I'm like, this is like as sincere as I can get. And so, that kind of fucked me up a little bit. And then to like find out that someone as musically brilliant as Prince like actually got it was just really comforting. And now whenever I play it, it's kind of like I send it to him.
It's crazy you said. I literally just had a conversation at like 2:00 in the morning with a friend of mine. He was like really just like emotional about things, and he was just saying like when he puts himself out there for people, they don't get a good like reception of him, and it just hurts him because it's like he put himself out there, and he doesn't even like doing it, but when he does do it, it's not a good reception. Like, let's say he put a song, or he's putting his personality out there, and he get a bad reception. And that's what you were just kind of saying, like, you put something that like you're very proud of. He compared it to, like, let's say I invite you to my birthday party and you brought me some cake, you put your all in the cake, and I'm like, chocolate cake, and I just threw the cake away, and I was like, shut up. And I don't know, I think I didn't know what to say to him, because I was like, I'm thinking, because I was like, the people that you're talking about that gives you these bad receptions are people that you never, like, they don't really matter in life. So I guess, what would you say to somebody like that?
It's something like, there's a saying, but it's like elusive. What the fuck is it? Something like, those that matter, don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. You know, like,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
so. I mean, like, you can't make everybody happy, and like, really, to protect yourself, if you're gonna share with the world, it needs to be for, like, you just need to trust in yourself and love yourself, because if you're giving from a place of like seeking validation, like, you're only gonna leave yourself open to be criticized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like, that can't be that can't be the purpose behind it, because you'll just ultimately end up feeling fucked over, because everybody with a fucking laptop has an opinion.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? And like, and so, and like, people will find you, and the thing is, we only ever remember the negative shit, but it's like, this is the thing, is like, I was all hung up with some bullshit like critic, and then I have people like tattooing my lyrics onto their body, and I had like, people whose like family members have died, or and it's like, my music has helped them through their shit, and they write to me, and it's beautiful, but for some fucking reason, or like, there could be so many examples of this, and then one motherfucker can just be like, yeah, I don't like it, and she's fake, and whatever, who the fuck she thinks she is. And where, if you're an artist, generally you're like hyper emotional, because I kind of feel like you need to be emotionally advanced to be able to create.
See, now you make now I feel like a dickhead, because I'm also, like, when I interview people, I also review albums, and I do it in video format. And if I don't like an album, like, I literally like it's the type of thing, like, when I don't like an album, people are like hype, because they're like, oh, he's finna go in on it. And now that I feel like if somebody watches it now, like the person that made it, they're gonna be like, wow, man, I really put all that into that, and he just like went in on it. So I don't know, that's
You don't
crazy.
have to like everything though.
That's
Like,
a fact. That's a fact.
I'm shady as fuck when I want to be as well. Like, it's just, the difference is, I think, is if you're like, hashtag this artist, I'm gonna send it to you, so you like,
Yeah. You basically trolling them at that point.
like, anybody can have a fucking opinion, but it's like, fuck, like, I mean, for me, I prefer to celebrate the shit that I'm into, as opposed to just the shit that I'm not, because it's like, there's so much cool shit in the world. So it's like, all right, I'm just gonna put my energy into, like, rather than being like, this is shit, let's all focus on how shit this is. I prefer to be like, this is really awesome, pay attention to this instead. Because even if you're hating on it, you're still giving it attention to some degree.
I think I might need to like a daily positive text from you or something, because like, you just like, because like, I don't know, I feel like you just have so much positive things going on. But I guess talk about Choose Your Weapon a little bit before we close this out, and talk about a little bit more stuff. I listen to a lot of albums, and I'm pretty sure you've heard albums where people try to like do creative stuff, and you're like, it just didn't work. Like, it just didn't work. It's like,
but for the most part, that's why people are like trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna be so like left and like out of the like, you can tell when someone's just like finding shit and like doing it, versus someone who's like creating all these acrobatics to win. And again, it stems down to validation of other people. Like selfish artists are the best kind of artists, because it's like, make that shit for you. Make the shit that you want to hear.
Mhm.
You know, and you can. I feel like you can tell when someone's just trying to show off or trying to isn't this like super like isn't this super quirky and nerdy, or isn't
Yeah.
this on our super hood, or you know what I mean? Like you can tell when it's genuine, you know.
And
Like,
I was gonna say, choose your weapon. It's like everything that y'all tried that was like out of the box, it hit. It was like everything. It was like nothing missed. So like during the creation of the album, like I don't. It just I can't imagine being in like a studio with like so much just like creativity going on. Like how was those studio sessions? Like it's just I don't know. The album is just like a masterpiece to me. I can't even explain it. It's crazy.
well, I mean, like if I'm gonna, if I'm gonna be entirely honest, like it's a combination of like really fun and liberating, and also really taxing and traumatic because
Mhm.
you're like, but the ideas are, like it's like a four-way collaboration, and everybody's ideas are valid, and trying to find a harmony between that takes a lot of work, and so you're gonna have frustrations, but like we all really trust each other creatively, and no one no one is super egotistical. Like we're all just like giant kids,
Yeah.
really. It's just like, oh, like lap pizza, for example, came about because Simon bought a new, because he's obsessed with synthesizers, so he just like bought a new synth and was like, you know, just fucking around and like listening to the different sounds that it can make, and like, yeah, check this out, it does this too, and was recording. And then I rolled through the studio and like Bender started chopping it up and he showed me, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And it reminds me of the robots from Miyazaki's Laputa. And so I started writing to it like anybody contributes something and you just kind of like vibe off each other and get excited about it. And so the intention of it is this really like innocent, natural, like playfulness.
Yeah.
And like that's really natural, but the execution takes a lot of discipline and like repetition and like mind-bending shit and long hours in the studio, and like so it's just like, it's one thing to be hyper creative, but you got to be disciplined to really follow it through.
And it's crazy because I feel like a lot of people have noticed that to the point where off of that one album, like I told somebody this, I was like, it's crazy. Like I'm listening to this album, like off this one album, there's 3 records off of this that are like that's made off samples, and that's crazy to me because you got Drake, Free Smoke, you got Kendrick, Duckworth, and then you got Anderson .Paak. What's the song called? I forget. Without You, a Rhapsody, and the song is crazy. So I just want to quickly ask you, like, on all 3 of those instances, how did those go down?
Well, I've known Anderson .Paak for years.
Oh, so you know him?
Yeah.
He's crazy, man.
He was breezy when I first met him. I didn't even fucking know he was a singer. Like he was well, like an MC. He was a drummer with Shafiq Hussein from Sarah Collective, and we did a show at this little spot called Del Monte Speakeasy in Venice Beach. Yeah, and I was like, man, he's fucking serious, like amazing drummer, super genuine, super beautiful. And like it wasn't until like 2 years later that like Knowledge, who did this like No Worries thing with him, and has like produced different stuff, a lot of like done some stuff with Kendrick. Knowledge is a friend of mine, and like we just kind of send each other like little snippets of shit. Like he'll just like send me little like bits of beats he's working on, or I'll be like working out a Shaka Khan cover and send it to him, and it's just like this like nerd out we have. And he sent me Play a Part, which was like this little thing he did with like, it was like a live thing that Anderson .Paak did, and he just like chopped it up. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, and like I like worked out how to play it, and like sent it back to him and shit. And it wasn't it wasn't until like they did Sway together that like that I realized that it was him singing on that shit, because I just always knew him as a drummer. So it was just like, whoa, like you're fucking like really really talented. And
He is so good. He is so
yeah, so like it's so amazing that he's just like shining and killing it and stuff. So I mean that was a really natural progression. And like he did a remix with Taylor McFerrin of Lapita that came out with Choose Your Weapon. And yeah, we might be doing like I've got some stuff that I'm working on with him that's kind of like, you know, just like super playful. I don't know whether it'll be like just kind of like, that's the thing, like when it comes to me and collaborations, it's super lax, you know. So that's how that came around. The Drake thing, I've got no idea. I just know that he was like, I got tagged in his like live footage. The first song he would come out to was like pre-show, was Building a Ladder. And later when we would, you know, when I found out that, you know, they were sampling it and using it on the record, I talked to the producer. I can't remember his name, but the guy who like makes his beats for him.
I think was it 40?
Maybe.
Probably 40.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm so horrible. Yeah, but he was saying that like that was like the song he would listen to before he went out on stage. And like as an artist, like the song you listen to before you go on stage is like your hype song, you know, and it gets you into space to do what you need to do. And I don't know, it just kind of gave me a little window into Drake, because it was just like, it's such a like gentle song, you know. And I'm like, he's so like, he must be like so sweet if that's like the shit that he listens to before he goes on stage, you know. And then that just kind of escalated into having, it was all like in the space of like 2 weeks or something, just like finding that out. The Kendrick Lamar one was Ninth Wonder text me, and he was like, he actually gave me the heads up like well before it was on the record, and was like, because Ninth, like, he's super beautiful. He basically like remixed every song on our album. Like he did the like Without You, Be Friends, and Pack, and like did one for like Rhapsody, and like he just like every couple of days send me a new remix or something, which was, all of them were fucking awesome.
I could tell he's like somebody who really appreciates music, and when he like wants to sample something, like that's like a big nod, because I mean he really like likes what he hearing.
Well, this is the thing, is like he's there's this like Brazilian composer called Upbringing that I really love, and he was like, he made this like stunning album, and it wasn't commercially successful, and so he like retired it and became like made jingles as his career, and was like really ashamed of this album. And then years later, the hip-hop community started sampling his shit, and he kind of had like this resurgence and didn't realize that he'd made this like cult classic record. And like they played it live in LA with Miguel Atwood Ferguson, who is this amazing string composer, and hip hop royalty was there. You know, like it was like your Pete Rocks and like all like fucking everybody was there. And like I was watching this DVD about this composer, and he's doing an interview, and he's like, you know, like my career took off again because of the movement of hip hop and like sampling, and I found love for my record again. And they're like, you know, who was the first person that sampled you? And it was Little Brother, which was Ninth Wonder's first project, which is crazy. So like Ninth Wonder is like responsible for getting like one of my fucking favorite albums out in the world.
What's the album name?
His name is Arthur Verikai, and it's self-titled.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful, you know. And so like not only is he like influential as like a hip hop artist, but also is like you know, like the celebration of this like gorgeous Brazilian music and helped him get his career back on track and stuff. And I texted him and I was like, holy shit, I had no idea you were responsible for that. And he had no idea that like Arthur Barakai was like doing interviews about him.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, I'm watching it on DVD right now. And I sent him like a little video of it and sent to him, and he was like, oh my god, that's crazy. So I was like, he didn't even fucking know like that he was like a part of this like massive movement musically, you know, and resurgence, and you know, he's just like, he's a super head and super lovely, and you know, I'm just honored that he fucks with my music. And yeah, so he made the beat for Kendrick's record. I actually met Kendrick just before Good Kid, Mad City came out in Australia, and like I was at this club and it was this VIP section, and I was drinking Hennessy with him, and he had to leave because they had a flight or something, and he was like, you hang on to this. And I, to be honest, like I didn't even really, you know, I hadn't really sat with Good Kid, Mad City yet, and I wasn't like fully aware of his shit, you know. It was just like, I just kind of like, someone took me there, and like, I think my booking agent like put me on the door and like introduced me to him or something. And so like I smuggled, it was just really genuine and beautiful, and it was in like a hectic club environment, and like he was like, yeah, finish the bottle, you know, I gotta bounce. And so I like smuggled this bottle of Hennessy out of the club, and like now it's like my water bottle like next to my bed.
Oh, so you still got it?
Yeah, I still got it. Like, cause I just like, I was like, he's dope, and I just had this bottle, and it's crazy just seeing his career like fucking
he's blossoming,
skyrocket, and he's so worthy and so talented, and it's just really humbling to be invited into like such a strong and important legacy, you know, like, and from good people, like people that are just, you know, like he's a mainstream MC, and same with Anderson .Paak, but it's still like quality, you know, and yeah, and it kind of gives me a little bit of faith in the direction of mainstream music.
Well, last question for me, and then we get into these fan questions, and we're out of here. You got a new album coming out this month, right? I'm pretty hyped for that. Please tell the people more about it. You know, just enlightening what's going on.
So it's like a solo acoustic album, I guess, but there's like, it's like all vocals and guitar, but there's like, it's not just like it's not as straightforward as an acoustic record, I guess.
Okay.
But I got the backup singers from Hiatus on it, and like, I don't know, it's really raw, you know, like Hiatus has so much complexity and like density to it as far as like production and layers and shit. And this is just kind of like something that's really raw, like that I just kind of needed to do for myself, you know. It's like a journal, and the first and last song on the record are an Aboriginal Australian singer by the name of Jason Guruwiwi, and yeah, he's a ceremonial singer, and from the middle of the Australian desert, like from Arnhem Land, so it's very, very remote. Not a lot of people would be exposed to his artistry, and I just felt like, you know, it was an opportunity for me to use my profile to just kind of like educate people on some shit that I think is really beautiful and like powerful.
Okay. Well, let's get into these fan questions and we'll get out of here. Let's see what we got. First question is from Sunny. He said, he said, do you find it weird that American artists really like you, D'Angelo, Questlove, Kendrick, but you're still quite unknown in Australia? And is J Dilla a direct huge influence, or is most so voodoo by D'Angelo?
I mean, they both are, but there's a lot of influences. And to be honest, like, I actually didn't find D'Angelo until like way later. Like, like Bender, the bass player from Hiatus, introduced me to D'Angelo. So we'd already like started develop, and like vice versa. Like me and Pez grew up with Dilla, but Simon and Bender didn't know his shit. So it's like we're constantly like putting each other onto different artists that we like. I mean, we still have a following in Australia. We like, we sold out Sydney Opera House, which is like a really iconic venue. But at the same time, like, the industry is just really monopolized there, like, and anything that is, soulful or like urban is kind of like not as celebrated, and I feel like, yeah, I think it all stems down to just like, Australia is a little bit backwards sometimes, and like, I feel like maybe American artists understand it because they, like like the soulful influences are a lot more part of like American heritage than it is Australian. So like people, they get it, or like, like jilted beats, like like Diller is from here, and people like, you grow up with that shit. Whereas like in Australia, it's only like certain nerds or like heads that seek that shit out, that really that know about that. Like for example, Pez, the drummer, he went to uni, and they like we played Swamp Thing as like one of his like recital songs, like that he was being evaluated on, and he nearly failed the exam because like one of the music teachers, like, the drummer he's playing out of time with the bass player, and like didn't understand musically like the style of music is like, it's out of time, I'm gonna fail him. And if it wasn't for like his drum teacher being next to this guy and was like had to explain to him that was like a style, and it's actually some intricate shit, but in the like academic level, like it wasn't really understood, and so I think, I mean, like now it's a little different, if like from the start of the band, like there's definitely, like when we first started playing in Melbourne, there wasn't really there wasn't really a scene for that, and like I just feel like, yeah, it's like it's really like blossomed and developed and like slowly, surely getting a little bit more intricate, but for the most part, the Australian industry is mostly like rock orientated, Yeah.
Let's
So if
see.
you're not that, it's harder to make it.
All right. Jet lagged. Next question. That's his name. He says, what rap music? Yeah, that's his name. Jet lagged. He's.
Well be my name.
He said, what rap music do you listen to, and who is your dream collaboration?
um, Rap. I love El Boogie, MF Doom. MF Doom is maybe my favorite MC. It's like a combination between Lauryn Hill
Okay.
and MF Doom. But what else do I like? Like this is gonna sound crazy, but my auntie raised me on Tupac. I loved Tupac from a really young age, like 6 or 7 years old, just because like she shared a birthday with him and was like a massive fan. So for me, like it reminds me of my auntie and my mom a lot. Like so because my mom died when I was 11, like a lot of my memories were of her, like us like driving around listening to Pac. Like her favorite song was Hail Mary, because she liked the bells in it.
Beautiful
so
bills.
it
Beautiful bills.
so it's kind of like it's weird because like typically it's something that's like associated with like as like something that is cool or like you know like or like hood or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like it just reminds me of my mom and my auntie and like I think like for example like I taught myself piano and guitar and like one of the first things I ever worked out on piano was I Ain't Mad at Ya, like the piano riff on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I don't know, I think I was exposed to him at an age where I didn't think it was cool. It was more just like what I was like used to or something. Yeah.
Okay. Damn. Oh yeah, I think you said who was your dream collaborator?
Oh yeah. I don't know. Maybe like see for me like I think I prefer to collaborate with instruments that are obscure,
Mm.
or like yeah, like there's this Japanese classical composer called Takashi Yoshimatsu, and he has a series called The Age of Birds that I really love, and yeah, I'd love to kind of expand more like with other instruments rather than like like Pharrell or Missy Elliott or like this shit like
Yeah.
artists like that would be dope, but like the shit that really interests me is stuff that I don't quite understand and that I find like that intrigues me and like evokes my imagination because it's a challenge. It's more of
Mm-hmm.
a challenge, therefore I'm more attracted to it.
Okay, let's see. We got Lewinsky dress. I don't know how to say his name, but he said uh
Where are you getting this from? Like jet lag,
uh,
Lewinsky dress.
this is on his website. I'll show it to you. He said ask her what Celine Remy's process is like.
Salam
So
Remy.
Salam Remy.
I don't really know because like Salam, he's like he's the head of our label, um, but he didn't really like produce us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't. I would like to, but I haven't really seen him do his thing in the studio. Um, like he's referenced as a co-producer on our records, but like it's more in the sense of like what gear to use.
Yeah.
Like Pez had like some old crusty audio interface that he was using, and Salam's like like I'm gonna send you an Apollo, like like or things like when we recorded Breathing Underwater, he was used to me playing it,
Mm-hmm.
and like on the solo record you kind of hear like there's some hiatus songs that are the songs that I've written, some new shit, and some covers. And so you can kind of hear how the guys hear it and then what we do with it. And so like Salam's first exposure to Breathing Underwater was me playing in solo, and it was a lot faster. And I think like over time we kind of like kept sitting further and further back on it. And so when we recorded it, like the first time it was like hella slow, and he's like, maybe he kind of talks in riddles and shit. Like he's a super beautiful, interesting dude.
Okay.
So he kind of would suggest like maybe you should like try recording it again, but like like a couple of BPM faster, or like his production in our work is more just like just kind of like more like suggestions, like gear we could use or
Mm-hmm.
tempo shit, but not like we didn't really go head to head in the studio with him. So yeah, you'd have to ask him.
Okay. Last fan question comes from Vanguard. He actually has two. He said, "What R&B and soul artists inspire you, and what was the moment you realized you could make a career in music?"
R&B and soul. I really love. I don't mean that's such a. Like, I don't know. Like, genre wise, genre is such a weird thing. It's like, how do you define what people's shit is?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if she'd really be classified as R&B and soul, but I like live for Georgia Ann Muldrow. I think she's really underpresented and underappreciated. She's like, she's pretty fucking amazing. I really love Tweet. You know, as far as like millennial shit,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think maybe like people at least in Australia, like, oh yeah, that like oops song she did that you hear when you smash to the club and like whatever. But her her harmonic, like her vocal harmony is like fucking stunning, and
Yeah.
you can definitely hear her influence on Solange's latest record, and which is super awesome that she's featured. You know, like even just like a little like it's not like a whole verse or anything,
Mm-hmm.
which is just kind of like she's here is like I think it's a really cool homage, you know, because I mean I can hear the influence. So yeah, I mean Solange is killing it. Um, Gwen Bunn. Who
Shout out to
else?
Gwen Bunn. That's crazy. Yeah, shout out to Gwen Bunn. I'm familiar with Gwen Bunn.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Moses Sumney. I mean, he's not. I wouldn't consider him an R&B soul singer. I think he's a little bit like more universal. But I'm just gonna give him a shout out.
Literally, I just want to put this in here. I swear on everything. 3 hours ago, somebody literally just texted me, "You should listen to Moses Sumney." That's crazy.
Yeah,
to
you
just say
should.
that. So yeah, that's crazy.
He just released a record and it's like
Yeah,
fucking
I've never heard of
so
him,
stunning.
but I'm
It's
gonna have to keep
stunning.
him. Okay.
Yeah. What was the other question? Something.
He said, "When did you know you can make a career in music?"
Mm, I didn't. I just kind of like, you know, um, I'm just lucky that I am who I am,
Mhm.
and I don't really have a choice in that. You know, like it's just it's my entire being. You know, and I've always like I mean I guess maybe getting the band together, like before then I was doing shows and stuff like solo shows, and I've been performing off and on since I was like 15, 16. But yeah, it just kind of occurred naturally, like we got the band together, and then like 6 months later it was starting to blow up and I was touring overseas, and it was really quite I didn't really have a whole lot of time to like
Yeah.
stop and reflect and be like, oh, this is like I'm really fortunate in that department because like there's a lot of people that grind for years and really like I've been fucking grinding, but at the same time like like it was all really intuitive and natural. It just kind of took off before I could even really process my life and what was happening, like
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's just been a natural progression, but I think maybe the first time I went overseas was when shit got real. I was like, wow, I'm like, because I'd never been overseas before. And then the first time I went was like to play in New York, like, and just, yeah, that was kind of like, fuck, I'm actually like doing what I love
Yeah.
and traveling. Like, for me, that's all I want to do, like, it's, if I can sustain myself as an artist just by doing what I love and seeing the world, then then I'm doing all right. Yeah, and it seems to be working out.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, I just have to put this last tidbit out here. I'm a Florida boy. Everybody in Florida is like everybody loves permanent goals, like the ones you can't take out, the ones that's always in your mouth. And I see you have like a little goat right there. Is that permanent?
Yeah,
So
I got it on my 25th birthday. It was like my quarter of a century birthday present to myself. I just recently met someone from New Orleans and they call it a slug.
yeah, they call it slug.
She was like, I like that slug in your mouth. And I was like, what?
The most important question that you may not know about this, I don't know if you're familiar or not, but when you have permanent goals in your mouth, after time, they will like, I guess like, I don't know if like it's like under your tooth will like rot or whatever, but they will make your breath smell horrible. Like I know so many people with like permanent goals and like, hey, I was like, don't do that. Like it's very bad.
Yeah,
So
but man, you gotta like stay on top of your shit though. Like
okay,
it's like a treasure. You gotta like, you don't want that shit to go like moldy and fucked up. You gotta look after that shit.
yeah. So please
Also,
look after it.
also I'm like a gum addict
Okay.
because little fun fact for the singers out there is chewing gum produces saliva, which is like really it lubricates your vocal cords. So like if you have like a raw throat, it like and like if you're flying a lot and in air conditioning and shit, it actually gives you vocal support. So I'm always chewing gum, but brush your teeth. Like you're gonna have fucking gold in there. Like look after that shit.
Please.
But yeah, it's crazy because the reason that I have a gold tooth is because from when I was real little, like maybe like 7, 8 years old, I had this reoccurring dream where all my teeth were silver and I would have lightning powers. And like something about the metal in my teeth would like conduct electricity. And so from a really young age, I kept having this dream where all my teeth were silver. And then just before my 25th birthday, I hadn't had it for years, and then I had it again, and so for like a quarter of a century birthday present to myself, I wanted to get a silver one, but silver has like mercury in it, so they don't actually do that shit anymore because it's bad for you.
Yeah.
So I had to settle for gold, but like they put platinum in it to make it look more silver. But I mean, in Australia, it was really hard for me to convince the dentist to do it because like the whole like grills culture, like that shit's not in Australia. Like,
yeah, okay.
Or like if it is, it's only just started. But like, I always had a chip in this tooth, and like, so I wanted to like, it was more of a homage to this dream that I used to have. And yeah, I remember going to the dentist, and they're like, like we could give you a nice like porcelain one. I was like, no, I don't want a porcelain one. I want a fucking silver one. They're like, well, you can't have silver because you're gonna die from mercury poisoning. And then yeah, I managed to find someone that would do it, but they were quite against it.
At least you got it now.
But I got it now. It's not going, and like I kind of like the fact that hopefully my skeleton will have it.
Hopefully. Anything
like
else?
Like a pirate skeleton.
You got like a little pirate gold tooth in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? You got the pirate slug in your mouth, as they would say.
Right.
But no, I was gonna say anything else you gotta say before we get out of here.
No, not really. Just like look after yourself and like stay safe, and I hope everything's like. Where in Florida are you?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
So is it like, did you get fucked up by hurricanes or?
Nah, we were good. Like a couple trees kind of fell down, but it was nothing too like in Florida. Yeah, because in Florida we're so used to hurricanes. I'm not gonna lie, people didn't take it serious. Like when it was like hurricane, it was like it was like abandoned. Like right now, if you're in the red zone, people stayed. So it's kind of to the point where we're just so used to hurricanes, it's not even anything anymore. But yeah, thank God nothing crazy happened.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. Like Salam Remy lives in Miami, and he's got a studio at his spot, and I think I recorded Breathing Underwater and Jekyll there. Just stayed at his spot, and he had to evacuate and shit, and like it was all like there's a lot of trauma down there. So it's just, I mean, like, I don't know. Where I grew up in Melbourne, there's nothing really like that. So it's kind of, I don't know. You have like fucking nightmares about that shit, like crazy tsunamis and natural disasters, and so Anyway, just sending my love out there to anyone who's going through
Yeah.
the thick of it right now.
Facts, facts. Well, hey, until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna